Welcome to our tutorial about adding and setting up audio tracks. In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to create audio tracks in our Cubase project and then how to prepare them for recording. To add an audio track, go to Project and choose Audio from the Add Track submenu. There's many other types of tracks to choose from, but in this tutorial we'll stick with audio. The Add Audio Track dialog window opens. First, let's specify the number of tracks to create. We can increase or decrease the number by clicking these arrows. I need 2 tracks, one for my bass and one for my accordion. Now let's select the track configuration from the drop-down menu. We've got many options to choose from: mono, stereo, and a number of surround sound formats. I'm going to choose mono because both of my instruments have mono inputs. Both of the tracks I create will have the same configuration. We're done, so let's click OK. Our 2 new tracks appear in the project window. By default, Cubase has named them Audio 01 and 02. The first track is selected, that's why it appears in white. You can also add tracks with a right-click in the track list area of the project window. Choose Add Audio Track from the context menu. On a Mac, you Control-click to access that context menu. This time, I need a stereo track for my piano. Stereo tracks record in stereo interleaved format, which means that both left and right channels are recorded into the same file. Okay, we're ready to click OK. The third new track appears under the track that I'd selected previously. Let's left-click and drag our new track to drag it down. Notice how it's got the default name, Audio 03. Let's select track number 1. As I mentioned, by default, audio tracks, when inserted, are labeled 01, 02, 03, etc. Let's give these tracks some more descriptive names. That'll make it easier for me to manage them at a glance later on. Importantly, the files recorded for each track will use the track name as a prefix. So with an appropriately descriptive name, it's much easier to distinguish which files in the audio folder belong to which instrument. To rename a track, double-click in the track name field and type a new name. Let's call this one Bass. Press Enter. Cubase accepts the name. Let's rename this one Accordion. Oops, there we go. And Enter. You can also rename tracks from the Inspector panel. That's this area on the left here. Just double-click on the track name, type in the new name, and press Enter. Now let's assign the inputs and outputs for each of our tracks in the Inspector panel. This is so Cubase knows where to get the sound from and where to send it to. My piano track is a stereo track, and I've got a stereo input and output selected by default, so this one looks good. Let's go to my accordion track. Again, I've got the mono track with the microphone input automatically assigned. And it's automatically assigned to my stereo output as well, which happens to be my only output. For my bass, the same thing. It was assigned to the mono input and to the stereo output. Now, if I did have a few different mono and stereo inputs and outputs, I'd click here on the drop-down menu and then make my selection from the available buses. Now that our inputs and outputs are set up, we're ready to set up a track for recording. Let's make my bass track a little bit bigger. This is the first one I'll be recording. Wait until you see the split double-sided arrow and then drag down. In order to see and hear the audio coming into the track, enable this button. It's called the monitor button. It's yellow when it's active. The next thing we need to do is check our levels. I need to make sure my instrument signal coming into Cubase is loud enough so that it won't need to be boosted too much later on from inside Cubase. It's important to adjust your source levels first to get the best quality possible. For more information about this very important topic and how to best set your levels for different instruments, please check out my video course on recording, mixing, and mastering. In the Inspector panel, click on the Channel tab to open it. It's important to make sure your signal doesn't go into red on the channel meter. If you go into the red, you may cause clipping or distortion. Depending on the instrument, going into this entire area can cause some distortion, so be careful. When you're testing and your levels go into the red, you may be causing clipping or distortion. See this line here? Make sure your level doesn't go above that line. Once you've set your levels, you're ready to record. Click on the Record Enable button on the track. That's this button here. It's red when the track is enabled for recording. Setting the track to Record Enable lets Cubase know that you want to record on this track and no other one. However, you can record enable many tracks at a time. For example, if you need to record multiple inputs simultaneously, like your guitar with a scratch vocal track, or a live band performance or something like that. Just shift select the tracks you want to record at the same time, click to Record Enable, and ensure that the monitor buttons are on as well if you want to hear your signal while you're recording. And this concludes our tutorial on creating and setting up an audio track. In our next lesson, get ready to record some music.